Game.
So, sir, for this term, the way we
Turn on your
approach the
camera.
wait lang.
Okay. Okay. Ako naman magpapatay. Game.
So the way we approach the project for this term is we started by looking for problems within the site. Because for our special typology, we we wanted to like create a our plan was to create a building that would uh, give like, like extra jobs for the people, especially on the can you show the master plan, guys? Especially on the other part of the site where there's more residentials, and we noticed that there was a lot of there was an abundance of ukay-ukays in the area, which we saw the problem of textile waste being that there's too many clothes not being sold in the ukay-ukays, and they're just like piling up space. And uh, so we had the idea of creating a building that would be kind of a recycling facility for clothes. Uh, Next slide.
Also, can I add, uh, it's also the idea we had for last term, which is we wanted to create a city that people can work, play, and live, play, and work in. So by looking into that, we found things that they can live and work in, which is the building.
So we started by researching on the recycling process of the textiles. And there's basically three parts. There's the preparation, which is the sorting and the cleaning and drying of the clothes. Then the recycling part is the breaking down and turning the clothes into uh, like raw cotton, which will be used to create yarn, which will be the ones, which will be the one to needed to create new clothes. So it's like a garment to garment process. You take old clothes and then you make new clothes. Okay. Uh, yeah. So we didn't want to just create a uh, just a simple factory. So we tried to think about other typologies that we could mix into the building, and we decided to go with a an elementary school or a daycare type of typology. So, Dance, if you want to add anything.
Reason to that is, for example, if you're working in the city and uh, your job is to be a tailor or a processor for the recycling facility, and you have a child, you can't leave them behind at home. So the idea is to have this place to be a place they can be together in.
So it's para siyang daycare center where the workers do their jobs. Nandun din yung mga anak nila. So yeah, we looked into the Waldorf pedagogy, which is a form of uh, academic learning that focuses on improving the imagination and creativity of children. So there's another type of learning, which is the Montessori method, other than the Waldorf pedagogy. It's more focused on the intellectual, like the book smart type of education. But in Waldorf pedagogy, the main idea was to not restrict the children with like uh, for example, when you focus too much on geometric shapes, the child loses their like ability to uh, think outside of those geometric shapes, which is why in our forms we tried to focus more on organic shapes. So yeah, other than that, the other principles that was needed when it comes to design is flexibility, comfort, harmony between arts, rhythmic elements, color, nature, geometric perception, and natural lighting.
And then for the aesthetics of joy, this is an additional research we found, which would be supplemental in creating our forms. So first as the round thing. So this is in complement to the pedagogy Julian discussed, which the example they stated is when in the pedagogy is when the child is enclosed in a classroom that's a box. It's just not. It's also a not just an analogy, but also a psychological effect that their imagination is also boxed in. So thing to uh, another aspect of aesthetic choice, round things. And then pops of color, they found that a lot of pops of random pops of color um, and gives joy. And then symmetry, sense of abundance, and multiplicity, sense of lightness. Later we'll discuss how we implemented these aspects into our design. And then these are the stakeholders we have. So we divided them into the two typologies we have, which is the school and the factory. So recycling facility, but I mean, so for the uh, recycling facility, we have the tailors, packaging, and the weavers, sorters. So it's a complete process of getting the uh, textile waste and creating new tailored products. And then for the school, we included teachers, students, and we also expected guardians and visitors since if they wanted their children to go to that school, they would need to have a place to stay or a waiting area or simply a place for them to be together. And then and then this is the bubble diagram. You want to discuss this, Julian?
For the bubble diagram, yung main point lang is that the process of recycling the fabric is continuous, like from start to finish. So yeah, you can see it in the purple bubbles, yung sorting up until the tailoring of the new clothes. Parang one, it, meron siyang flow na dire-diretso sa building. And if you can also notice yung play and tailoring is like the center of the activities because yung idea namin was that since yung children nga is like their parents also work there, we found it important na parang may time during like when the children are playing na nababantayan sila ng parents parang ganun. Yung isa sa mga initial ideas namin like yung idea of instead of like hanging the clothes itself sa parang sampayan, we wanted to shred the clothes first so that if we will hang them around the building, parang magiging almost like an artwork siya, parang magiging uh, architectural feature siya ng building. So yung idea namin was that magkakaroon ng belt system around the perimeter, around the facade of the building na magiging drying rack for the clothes.
Also, to add to that, by shredding the clothes or the textile waste, we can make it more uniform. So when it's hanged around the building, it won't be may t-shirt na umiikot sa building, which would probably look not unappealing. And also by shredding it, it would be easier for them for the washing machines to clean it properly instead of having to clean large portions of textile. And then for the design process, this is how we implemented the round shapes and also by creating this part of interconnectedness, we also introduced a continuous surface which goes around all three circles like a stoplight. And then next is we pushed one to the side so that we have a concept of having I mean we want people to see people. So by creating this indention, we allow more people to see other people and on the other side compared to having it straight. So having it straight would be limiting it to two sides. So having this one gives the users a panoramic view of everything. Uh, ito yung sa people see people. So this a diagram for the library and this area is the tailoring area, which is connected to the library. So in that way, the workers can see the children as well as the people on top the playground above the building. So we ended up with this form, which came from that three circles, but we change it by giving more space on areas that needs more space. So for example, we wanted to put the school mainly on the center, so we budget a bit to accommodate more space. And then by creating that, we also create the continuous circulation, which uh, intersects inside. So coming from the playground inside, they can go up into the roof and then come inside again in the second floor, in the second floor, and then come around again back into the central playground. Then for the drying belt circulation, since part of the process is the sorting and drying. After sorting the washed clothes, the washed clothes, it needs to be dried. So we designed it in a way that it's going around the building on the exterior and then crossing inside. So uh, it goes around the building again on the exterior instead of having to circulate it inside that since it's a continuous one. And then it eventually comes back to the drying area.
This diagram basically yung step-by-step na process ng from sorting to drying. So, add ko lang dun sa sinabi ni Lance na okay, so here may kita na yung the sorting happens on the second floor and they're dropped down into a containers that will be where the fabric will be sorted by color. And yung containers na yun will be, we try to feature it as a part of the building. We can show it on the renders later on. Then, dinadrop down siya to the washing area where after niya i-wash, dun siya ipapasok sa belt system which goes around the building. And can you go to the previous slide? Yung circulation ng belt system, ang prioritize namin dito was that the belt system should end up in the machine room kasi dun yung parang last step nung drying kasi dun na siya kukunin for the next part of the recycling process. So when the belt returns to the washing area, empty na siya, nakuha na yung clothes. And yeah. Next.
And then for the base section, this is how we imagine the belt section to be the belt system to work. So we indented it so in such a way that when you look at it from outside, you won't see the mechanism anymore. You will just see the textile, and also it provides shading for the users inside. So this is the idea that we also wanted the structure to be made from white Portland cement. So the idea for that is we want to make the textile pop instead of creating a distraction. So in such a way, in that way, we create a open canvas, a blank canvas, and then the continuous flow of washed textile is gonna be the artwork in that sense. And this is how it crosses across the building uh, to dry. And this is another view of the roof playground that oversees the Pasig River as well as the Manila City Hall. And across the river is the fabric building, but we will discuss it later on. So this is the site development plan. So we placed it beside the park. This park area is the agricultural park from the radial park we have. So in that way, the children also can also learn growing plants and such. And then also we moved the school away from the street, the Carlos Palanca Street, to have their privacy in classes or some or sleeping. So it's near the Pasig River, which we can show in the floor plan. Next. And this is the street and this is the Pasig River. Yan.
Okay. So ito yung this is the ground floor plan. And kung mapapansin niyo dito, yung the building is actually enclosed. Although yung playground niya on the yung continuous playground niya that spirals around the building is like a park. We tried to make it so that hindi siya parang nagiging public park na parang kahit sino pumapasok just for the park. Kasi this is a place for children, so parang uh, hindi siya hindi maganda kung parang ang daming masyadong tao na ginagawang park yung building. So actually the only access to the park is when you go to the reception area in the courtyard. Nandun lang yung ramp going up the park. And yeah, the courtyard actually is surrounded also by the library, which is the number 4. And yung number 5 is yung Taylor, and yun yung kanina namin tinutukoy na while the parents are working, they should be able to see their children during their breaks. And yeah. Also, you can see the machine room on number 10, which is where the fabric or the belt system will end up. Dun nangyayari yung grinding and spooling of the fabric. And also in the middle ng machine area na yun, nandun yung loom, which we tried to use as a centerpiece ng building kasi parang siya yung heart of the tailoring process. So we can show a render of that later. Then, yeah, sige, okay.
To add lang, the flow of the building is from the reception area. We created a ramp to go up to the classrooms here. In fact, these ramps are 2 separate ramps, but side by side. The difference is one is indoor, one is outdoor, but it doesn't come from the same place. To go up from this outdoor ramp, you need to go up from this side, and then from the inside you go up from this side. The reason for that is from the reception, it's easier for them to go here, go up, and then when you go up, you can appreciate the courtyard more by going around the place before going down again. And also from if you were in the roof or going down in this ramp, it's easier for you to go up again on the outdoor ramp again from here. So that's why it's kind of making an X like this, and the indoor is like that. For the second floor.
Okay. So second floor, there it's mostly just the school part, mostly classrooms, and dun sa gitna where the uh, playground roof deck kind of intersects with the indoor space. Doon namin nilagay yung parang canteen dun sa number 13. Then it's also beside it is the sleeping area. Beside it is the play area. So para siyang indoor play area, which also has a ramp going down to the machine room. Number 17 is yung tinutukoy namin kanina na collection sorting area where the clothes are sorted in containers. And above it is the sleeping areas. Separate rooms sila pero it's connected to the classrooms. Then since yung number 18 kasi mababa na yung roof doon, we decided to use it as a storage room.
This is the section showing the building. So as we shown before in the diagram, this is the sorting and the washing area on top of each other. And then in the middle of it is the courtyard overseeing the library and the tailoring area. And above it is the classroom, which you can see the courtyard as well. And these
So-
are the
Yeah. These are the front and right side elevation. And yeah, makita mo yung fabric when the belt system is full.
and then these are some more renders of the playground roof. And this is how we imagine the tailoring area to be. So we created a wall so that it's protected against playing and the noise from the machines seeping out to the library. This is the entrance going to the reception. The courtyard, the ramps, the intersecting ramps. And this is the view overseeing the city hall. The waiting area for the kids. Tailoring area.
Oh yeah,
Rooms.
this is the circular loom that we mentioned. We use the circular loom instead of the manual weaving machine because this is more efficient. And yan, nilagay namin siya dun sa center ng machine room kasi dun yung parang last step niya before it's created to make new clothes.
And then moving on to the fabric building. We took the side profile of the special typology, which is a facility, and then we thought, what if we get that and make that like the fabric building of the city. So by getting that profile and created a repetition of that figure, we created this iteration for the fabric building. So after that, we were looking into the precedents before, which we got the awning window and thought about how it shaded the people without disrupting much of the airflow. So by iterating it from glass term, we came about to the curtain system. So for the curtain system, we also made 3 separate designs for the permutations and the different purposes of the building. So one is the commercial building. So we made the commercial building a single curtain so that the management won't have to open and close multiple curtains to close the store. they can just operate on one. But for the apartment unit, we needed it to be separate in each unit. That's why they have different ones. And then for the third one, we also created a apartment with balcony. So the problem with the balcony is we also wanted for them to have a planter's box so that they have access to greenery right outside their window. But the problem that we had was the figure of it was too dominating for the design of the thin slats of concrete. So the solution we had was to create a bulge so that it's two separate lines instead of one large volume of Lancer's box. Julian, yeah, I don't know.
Wala.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how it looks when all the buildings follow the same uh, building fabric. But yung naging problem namin was parang wala nang naging variety yung building. So we tried iterating it with different parameters. And this is just an idea of how the building can somehow look different from each other, but still following the same DNA. So yung important lang sa building fabric na naisip namin is the idea of a canopy. Kasi nanggaling yun dun sa bahay kubo na idea. And also yung arcaded structure, arcaded hallway dun sa ilalim. These are some exterior renders ng building fabric. So,
And then looking into the individual unit, and this is the base section of one unit for the fabric building. So how it works is the fabric unrolls from inside using a mechanism, pulley system, in a way that it creates two layers of fabric instead of one, so that the fabric they use don't have to be very thick. So, for example, they want to change it out after it's dirty, they can just replace it easily instead of having a thicker thicker curtain. Later we'll see how it ended up looking by creating the two layers of fabric overlapping. This is the typical apartment floor plan. So we created this in a way that we tried to differentiate or innovate on the current condo units. We can see the typical ones. So instead of dividing the room near the windows into separate rooms, we try to maintain one single continuous window, not continuous but with slats, so that they have a larger volume, as we can see in the renders. And also, so here we can see how the two layers is blocking the light, but then only one layer allows some of it, so it doesn't it's not too bright. And then also we created circles, perforations in the slats, so that you can see through it. This is the example of it. And then this is what I was talking about, that it's not interrupted, so your whole unit is continuous, which gives you an illusion of a larger unit. And then this is the view from the unit looking towards the other buildings that have the same typology. And that's all, sir. You're muted, sir. Muted, sir.
Kanina nagagaling yung sound kanina. Can you mute it first? Kasi it's very distracting.
Kay Lance yun.
Okay, mag-mute ka muna, Lance. Okay, so when it comes to both projects, can we go to the special typology? Okay, before I forget, when it comes to the base section, the one that you showed me, it's not a base section, it needs to have details. All right. So, and then this one, I think, would have been more effective if the rendering, if the clothes that are hanging are realistic. Like, how can you say that? Because right now the rendering looks good because you coordinated the colors. So how would you know that the users will install the right colors? How will this building look like if it's going to be random in random colors? Do you get it? Have you thought about it?
Yes, sir. Actually, that's a human error for us, since it was hard for us to individually change the color.
Yeah, I mean,
But we tried to do.
no, it's not just about the. I mean, you can do it in Photoshop. I don't think it's a problem, especially when it comes to still renderings. But it's a question about the design. It's an argument about the design. It's an issue about the design. This is a curated rendering, but in actuality, how do you imagine this being operated by non-designers? Are they going to create it the same way? If they're going to create it the same way, are you going to police them if they change the color?
No, sir. Yeah.
So while this is good, it's located in a certain area of the building. It echoes the BMW of Zaha did when you have the cars going around it. Like, maybe I need to see how this is really part of the system, not just a decor, because you're required to do some spectacle, architectural spectacle. So I need to be convinced more that you could really create the system, not just as an adornment on a building. Otherwise, it won't be different from the moldings. So it becomes trivial if it's just going to be just, a place where you can curate clothes that are hanging. Do you have any response to that?
Yes, sir. I agree with that. That it needs to be. But then I think the random colors is what we were looking for. Then that it's the basically in film, it's the user experience. Like because in film they create their own interpretations of movies. But then this is design. But then so in designing this, it was what we're looking for, that it's not coordinated perfectly, that it's and human interaction.
I think,
It's
sir,
their input.
Well,
I think if the fabric were randomized, I think it would still work, but we just weren't able to visualize it properly because it was hard to do it rendering.
yeah, exactly. I think it can easily be tested. That's why we call it iterations. You create this visualization, you create another visualization showing, what if it's in an ugly random arrangement, choice of colors with black, with brown, with the colors that you will because the colors that you chose are well curated, that is going to be that that is going to be compatible with the rendering. So in a way, it's a little contrived. So maybe the next step is to test it with other colors, and to simulate real world scenarios wherein you cannot control and curate the colors that will be hung uh, on this building, and at the same time another testing if how maybe create another diagram showing how this is part of a system that it needs to be hung on this part of this building. Do you get it? What's the rationale why you have to hang them there?
The location, sir. We
Location,
needed the perimeter. We needed a lot of a
not just
long
talking about the system,
space.
the entire system of the making clothes, the washing clothes, the recycling of clothes. How is the hanging of the clothes outside relevant to the system of recycling? Or do you just place it on the building because Sir Jim expected it to be a spectacle? Sir Jim expected it to be part of the architecture. So is that the reason? Because I expected it?
Actually, no, sir. We really needed to go around since if it's inside, it won't be dried. If it's
Okay, well, that's one.
covered, it won't
That's
be
the
dried.
beginning. That's the beginning. That's a good reason. That's first the justification. The second one is the planning aspect. How is this, since the complex is big, uh, how is this how is the location being on the perimeter of the wall relevant to the program of the recycling? Do you get it? I'm not saying that this is not. I just wanted to be conscious of that it needs to be relevant. Okay. You can randomly pick a location for drying, for crying out loud, but the reason why it needs to be on the perimeter in relation vis-a-vis the program behind that wall, how is it relevant? When Zaha did the BMW, she wanted to expose the cars so that it can be exposed to the workers. This is completely walled up. So I'm not sure, maybe that's not your intention, but what is the relevance then to the program inside? Because aside from drying, the only thing that comes out as a reason is because it looks interesting, it's an architectural spectacle. But if you're able to solve the program aspect of this, then it's just no argument to raise. Okay?
I think, sir, although hindi namin siya naisip during designing, maybe if parang maybe during one day of working, yung capacity ng buong belt system is like parang sakto na siya for the day itself. So parang pag ikaw yung worker, makikita mo unti-unti nauubos yung belt. Parang siya nagiging clock na parang patapos na yung work for today, parang ganun. So
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the same.
just the idea.
That's one of the ideas, but it's not a convincing idea yet that sort of relates to the program inside. Like the adjacency, the reason for the adjacency, why it needs to be near a certain program of this recycling facility. I understand the clock, etc. But what if, since the perimeter is so big, what if the clothes end up on the far end of the building?
Actually, sir, that's one of our initial diagrams, but that wasn't the intention. We created before like a diagram that puts the railing on one corner of the building lang. Just to show na this is the building, the belt system. And then, yeah, you had the same comment na, why is it just that? Which is we agreed in like it's just parang sampayan area lang ng bahay. But no, we wanted it to be sampayan ng, I mean, it's part of the building. Like yung sampayan is what makes it what ties it together.
Yeah,
Because I think
I think you get what I mean, and
yeah,
if it deserves uh another round,
explanation.
no, another round of review or another round of studies. Like if I'm one of the workers, and then that hanging part is just right beside me, I can just hang it by myself, then it's part of the system. Do you get it? Like it's just there.
Mm,
It's not something that, oh, it's just beautiful to look at. Do you get it? So, but it's part
yes.
of like how the entire cycling facility is working. Then probably we are able to mesh everything. Okay,
Mm.
it's actually part of the composition, like the solving process of the composition of the entire all of the ideas. So yeah, so
There was
yeah,
there was also one idea, but then we didn't pursue it since it kind of didn't make sense at the moment. But it's still possible that when they clean it, uh, it's still dripping. So what if the colors uh from the clothes are dripping down the walls? So
yeah,
that's
actually,
an idea, pero
yeah, I think it's a beautiful idea. Again, echoing Peter Zumthor's Thermavals Widow's Water. Let's go to the fabric building. I have another design comment. Okay, the others are superb. Don't get frustrated if I don't say anything positive. It means that it's good to go. The only thing that you
it's
forgot about this is the humanizing aspect. I forgot to, like, it's beautiful. It's very sci-fi type of environment. I can imagine it in a sci-fi movie. I want it to be built, but again, John Gale, the meat of Design 5 towards Design 6 is humanizing it, and somehow Tricia and Kevin was able to do that with their building. They humanized it somehow. They broke the monotony of the pattern, and whereas this one, probably one building is tolerable, but the moment you put them all together, you have another rendering showing all of them, like a more that one. It's so overwhelming. Doesn't feel like it's homey, But as a probably as an office complex, it will work. I like the rendering with the sun, like that. But uh, it's otherworldly, which I really like, personally like. But when it comes to the objective of of your master plan, which is all about humanizing the city, it's not so human. All right. This is all good, but if there's a way for you to humanize this kind of aesthetic, or this kind of very harsh. I don't know if you know, if you know one of the movies of Vin Diesel.
Fast and Furious.
No, the other one, sci-fi. Uh, it was in another planet. Then there was a sequel.
Reddick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then I think it's part 2. It's like being in that planet, which I kind of like. I like architecture that brings you to another planet, but it's not the objective of the of the project. All right. So, but when it comes to creating architecture, inventing the architecture system, I'm very, very happy where you guys are at. But again, don't lose track of what the brief is looking for. That could be what the client is looking for. It's one thing that the client uh, likes your architecture, but don't lose sight of what they actually need. Okay, so you might find the right clients for you, but don't ignore their needs. Okay, so in this case, in our academic setting, the client need is the project brief, which is about humanizing cities, etc., like that. And yeah, and then although I keep joking about Tracy and Kevin taking a lot of time, which is half joke. Uh, but that only demonstrates how much they think about their project so much, how they internalize. I'm not saying that you guys are not like that, huh? It's just that probably just need to keep remembering some,
Immerse.
because it's not just I also noticed this with other batches wherein they tend to forget what the lesson was the previous term, etc., and forget to to apply it for the next project. So yeah, but overall, I can't complain too much. Okay, so thank you guys. Any questions?
Ah,
Wala na for now.
wala naman sir.
Okay, but later on, if you are going to develop this direction, try to imagine breaking breaking the monotony.
Monotony.
Yeah, monotony. And if if you really can take out uh the repetitive thing because it's part of the project, maybe the moment you put all the different loads, it will become more human. Like that.
Ah,
So that's what happened when Camino, we had a private consultation about this project, and then he was talking about exaggerating scale, and then the humanizing aspect. So it became contradicting. I had to tell him how contradicting it was. That's why he saw that there's a part of his project wherein it's just all walls. That's exaggerating the scale, and then the fabric building is broken into different levels. That way, you're able to create a more humanely and relatable scale for each levels. But it's going to be just one wall of just plants. You're creating a very exaggerated scale of a building. So I don't know if you recall his rendering when he has buildings on the side when it's broken into different levels. He has a wall building, plants, wall, plants, like that. So it's sort of broken down. That way, each level uh, provides that humane scale. Okay, so maybe I don't know. Maybe you can do the same thing for this one. I'm not saying you break the ribs, because I like the part of that, the architectural feature in this project. So think about that. Okay.
all right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So who's next?
Sir.
Okay, game. Who's then after that is going to be Justin, no?
Hello, Abby. Nandiyan ka ba?
Hello.
Okay, game. And then Kier. Justin.
Naririnig naman ako, sir, no?
Yeah, I can hear you. Game.
Nakarinig ba ako?
Ay, Lord.
Share na, game.
My goodness.
So ito yung site ng fabric building namin. Malapit yung site namin sa Estero since gusto namin mag-focus sa water cycling or mag-integrate ng water cycling sa building. So, better kung yung building is connected sa river para may source of water. Next. Then for the initial approach sa design process, based ito sa changes sa mass and needs ng components ng building namin na nakafocus sa water cycling and paano ma-integrate ang training system sa building. Next slide. So, nag-focus din kami sa taro plants and freshwater clams as a filter feeder which can actually make the water cleaner. Since mag-integrate kami ng terrain system, we also want to know kung ano yung maximum height and spacing ng taro plants. Next. And also yung growth stages ng fresh clams. Since important din sa clams yung spacing to extend from the shell to feed. Mac, wala kang audio.
Hello, meron ako.
Okay na.
So basically, sir, like yung like gusto namin gawin is to integrate water filtration and cycling sa building. Kasi parang naisip namin concept is like, di ba you gave us 6 typologies before? Inisip namin before na like, what if we can make this building as the filter of the city, parang ganon. Like in Manila then, like located just sa Pasig and surrounded with river. So focusing on water. So medyo dun nag-start. So from yung mga initial form finding, yung naging comment niyo dun sa amin, sir, masyado kami nag-focus masyado sa parang like shell. So yung ginawa namin is like medyo nag-focus na kami kung paano namin i-connect yung mga architectural party namin and paano namin siya integrate sa building. So nag-come up kami ng ganito. So gusto mo namin ipakita like yung bare, like walang plants and all. So basically, from yung sa iteration, like we use that as a guide sa form kasi like yung approach din namin dun sa initial form finding na yun is naka-base pa rin sa needs ng mga components na ilalagay namin sa building. So parang applying terrain and also yung like mga constructed wetland and yung parang like yung waterfall thingy dito sa gilid na explain mo. So mag-start ako sa ground floor. So ito yung render. Sir, try nyo scan. Nag-try kami parang VR na render.
Okay, wait.
Pero go.
My expectations are getting higher. Wait lang.
Medyo test render pa kasi hindi pa ako marunong maglagay ng materials. Pero
Sige. Excite naman.
try mo lang.
Sabihin ni Sir Jerry, ay baka everyone can do this.
Easy lang naman siya. Nakita ko sa TikTok.
Dito porn ha. Wait lang.
So this is yung ground floor namin, sir. So basically we made this as parang multifunctional hall na may mga multiple ponds where parang people can interact with yung, di ba, like components namin, clams and taro. So they can interact with it, like hawakan, ganun, play with it, parang ganun. So, and dito din located yung parang pinaka-utility area namin. So, dun sa ito yung floor plan. So, yung pinaka-utility namin, dito located kung paano, like yung parang, di naman machine, yung mechanism ng parang yung terrain falls namin na papakita namin sa base section. Kaso,
Grabe, nakakaliw naman to. Metaverse na.
di ba? Meron pa isa, balik natin.
Sige, mamaya.
Pero ayun, so ito yung parang terrain, yung terrain falls. Dapat overflowing water yan. Pero, so yung ano na to, like yung parang parts niya is so parang taro to clams then sedimentation. So tinry namin like parang controlled yung flow niya ng water kasi hindi lang kita dito pero may mga pipings siya. Um, oh, di kasi wala pa kasi yung base section pero sa video, sir. May mga pipings siya sa baba para mas controlled kasi if like parang yung waterfalls talaga, yung ganong intensity, yung hulog ng water parang yung capability ng clams mag-filter feed is mawawala kasi madidisturb sila. So from doon. So, and also dito din yung parang stairs going up. So this is like the section. So medyo, yeah. So sa second floor is parang located yung like bivalve workshop. So basically yung area na yun is like where they can cultivate and parang breed clams. Where, may mga multiple aquariums for controlled environments. And also, we put like a constructed wetland here because sa pinaka ano namin is yung roofing design namin is parang like a water catchment din. So like pag umulan, like yung flow ng water will mapupunta dito yung mga water. So, and may mga connected pipings din siya na direct dun sa may utility room namin para like mabuo yung cycle. So, yan. So, ito yung parang floor plan niya. And longitudinal section. So, dito located yung utility room and also hindi lang siya visible pero may parang like display area ng mga clams dyan. Parang aquarium siya. Parang like nakahang yung mga clams doon. Like connected pa rin siya dito sa may parang system namin. So, ito yung parang front elevation. So, yeah. Meron, and dito pala yan. Ito yung right side. So, dito sa may part na to, meron ding overflow sa gilid ng water kasi may chance na like magkaroon ng parang surplus ng water. So, yeah. So, for the utility naman, sir. Sorry, sir, kasi medyo may misunderstanding sa paggawa ng part na to. So, hindi namin natapos yung sheets. So, yeah. Basically, ito yung pinaka-layout pa lang, sir. Pero, yeah. Hindi pa namin siya tapos, sir.
That's it.
Opo.
Okay.
Pero kaya naman by tonight to. Medyo ano lang.
Sige, let's see. I'll give you until tomorrow. One thing with Mac, I don't know, maybe I'll just let it out. Yari ka, Mac.
Go lang, sir.
What do you call that? Since this sprint, I know that you are talented, and I knew that you'll make me proud as a mentor, and you demonstrated it with your plates. But I think, it's not necessarily a bad thing because I think you're taking your time, and there will be a time when you are going to decide that you're going to focus, etc. I think you are distracted, but the reason why I'm saying this because I really love the first project, and I can see your potential with it, and I saw the potential, like I said, in Ada Sprint. But I think you're just distracted. That's it. The reason why I'm saying this because I'm trying to understand you, because I know that you're just finding, not one finding, but I think someday I think you will really focus, and then demonstrate what you're really capable of. You're already demonstrating it in a way, but everything seems to be half baked, or seems to be almost there but not quite. Do you know what I mean? So but the moment you find your, not one maturity, for the lack of a better word, but I think you know what they mean. This goes to Abigail na rin kasi nadadamay ka kay Mac. So but the moment you find your center, I think you can do so much. You can achieve so much, and you might even excel. You know what I mean. And then I think even your peers can attest to that. And your first project with Abigail, the clams, etc., it's an evidence of that. You get the process, you get what we're trying to look for, and at the same time, you guys have the facility to demonstrate it, to substantiate it. But I can only imagine. I'm not frustrated. Don't get me wrong, but because I like I said, I think you're just finding the right time, or your time. But I'm I'm trying to imagine what else you guys can do the moment you find your center and focus.
Sir, kinikilig yan.
Okay, so but you see what I mean, Kevin, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like,
Wow. Sir, find your center so deep.
and then what do you call it?
It's
I
Ada's
saw that
friend.
in Design for as well. Even Design for is half baked. I remember, but it's one of the nicest projects that I like as well. Even Sir Jerry liked it. But I know that there could be so much more. Okay? Sige. Do you have any questions, guys?
Wala naman, sir.
Okay, and then the VR thing can be an extra thing that will set you apart. Like the first project, I super like it. Maybe it's just a question of scientific research, sizes, etc. Yeah, but I think the process and what we're looking for is there. Okay? Sige, thank you guys.
Sige po.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Justin and name and
Sir.
wait, Maureen. No, no, it's not Maureen. Is she here?
Joanna,
Then
sir.
Joanna, sorry.
Sige, sir. I'll share my screen.
Okay,
Can you see my screen?
yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So for our presentation today, the concept that we envisioned for our project is, it starts off with transcending architecture. So the title is Re-envisioning Philippine Metropolis. So transcending architecture, it considers the mysterious, profound, and real power of designed environments to address the spiritual dimension of our humanity. We came up with this by incorporating perspectives from within and without architecture. It offers a wide, critical, and deeper understanding of the living relationship between the built and the natural worlds. So we started off with Burnham's plan for Manila. So Burnham's plan for Manila, it's something a lot of architects, urban designers, and map enthusiasts look at with a heavy heart. It's considered paradise lost as it championed streets, parks, railroads, and public buildings. The plan would adapt Manila to modern needs. Unfortunately, it didn't fully come to fruition. So Burnham mentioned that Manila has opportunity to create a unified city equal to the greatest of the Western world with the unparalleled priceless edition tropical setting. So here is a map of Daniel Burnham's plan. So Burnham's plan, it features wide radial avenues, plenty of greenery, and a government center. He proposed 5 major points, starting with a plan to develop the waterfront as a main area of recreation. And Burnham thought of recreational parks as a great urban design element. So his ideas were actually like the foundation of how we came up with the 2 buildings. So here is the re-envisioned master plan of Burnham's design. This is actually designed by Jacob Layuk and Adrius Gonzalez from ArcDesk 5. So the 2 highlighted areas are the chosen locations for our proposed ideas. And we wanted to reintroduce Burnham's ideas of buildings that actually vary in program. So for the fabric building, we analyzed the environmental setting of the site and how it relates to the surrounding infrastructures. We wanted to utilize the close proximity of the building to the Arroceros Forest Park and integrate ideas that aim to cater to the forest. The aim is to provide a natural connection to the forest and Pasig River. And then the other one is for the institutional areas. So for the institutional areas in Manila, we wanted a building that binds the community through architecture. So here's the
To add
design.
that, sorry. So I'm just gonna add a little bit now. So to since we want to make a connection, so we would want not just to show how we connect through its structure by the users, but also, of course, by adding like the research center, right? So we would want to also give in or pass on and study more and give knowledge about to not just its history, but also its green parang habitats to what is left in that park and what may be lost and what may be, let's just say, endangered in the near future. This can also help also add awareness as well to, let's just say, to newer generations. It's more of a let's just say an opening to each users, especially to new upcoming generations, to not only to students who's taking up similar courses that would lead to, let's just say, botany and other biologies and stuff. Sorry, next slide.
Okay, so for the design permutations of the fabric building, here in this diagram, it represents the 9 main elements we integrated into our commercial fabric building. So when we started modeling it, we molded it into its environment by utilizing the vistas of our site. And that's in accordance to Daniel Burnham's idea. So from the center, we included an atrium. So that will serve as a community courtyard that connects the visitors to its interior garden. And then the atrium allows visitors to see greenery from different points of the building. And then the way we configured the spaces of each modular unit is to create a circulation that will have vistas inspired from Burnham's principal idea. And then the wall to ceiling interiors have sprawling windows that encapsulate the environmental setting of the space. Then for the spatial program of the commercial building, it's actually categorized into 3 main components. the commercial area, the ferry terminal, and then the nature reserve center. So each area of the building allows for a variety of programs. So we introduce saleable areas in each component to prolong the financial stability of the space. So the way we design each component, it's in accordance to its specific location. So for example, the ferry terminal, it serves as a point of tourism for visitors. This area is connected to the commercial area that also serves as a community center. And then we envision the commercial areas to serve thousands of Manileños on a daily basis. That's comprised of students, employees, and tourists. And then for the Nature Reserve Center that is adjacent to the Alresares Forest Park, this will allow for visitors to enjoy the diverse environment. And then here's the bubble diagram of our commercial building. So we design each component to have a connection with nature while enhancing the community. And here's our floor plan. Jamie, you wanna?
So here's our floor plan, and then the following slides will be shown for our columns. So as much as possible, we would want to like have a space in between. So we would use that as let's just say is as a subtle what do you call this, subtle bridge to from public to a private space, which is the research center. So at least the space in between would be used as a some sort of a, not just a bridge or a gap that would help not really let's say disturb one another, especially if the research center is at work or doing more research, so they wouldn't be that bothered to what was going on the commercial side. So as much as possible, we tried to match all what do you call this, our dimensions or our what do you call this, our size, I think. So it would just we would just fluctuate from 11,000 millimeters to 13,000.
Okay, and to add to what he said, since the left area it's reserved for the nature center, outsiders can rent out the office spaces for business ventures like conference meetings, long-term office rent, and then it can also be held as a space for academic events.
So this is our some our parang formations or of our grid layout. So it's somewhat parang semicircular, circular, that type. It's not the that the usual grid type na ganun, sir. So we mostly parang may pagka-curve siya, similar to a leaf shape. So yeah, that's what we made our column plan.
So here is the ferry terminal area from the rear perspective. So this area, it's intended to be a terminal for a ferry line. It links a variety of mainland stops along Pasig River. So functionally, it consists of a viewing deck and a ticket counter. There's also like a passageway leading to the gate where tickets are presented before boarding. And then the viewing deck, it's the main space of the ferry terminal as it's designed with food shops to entertain the tourists. And then we try to give a spatial expression to certain ideas. So for example, our main idea is to create a scenic coastal along this region. And then here's the cross-section view of the space to show the relationship between the commercial areas and nature reserve center. So the ceilings are tilted to expose the interior spaces outdoor. And then from the Nature Reserve Center, it's designed with a larger perspective of the adjacent forest. The courtyard area, we developed the lot to have interior grounds for recreational activities, and it's the center for community development that also functions as a business hub. Jem, you want to add to?
Actually, you've said most of it now. So next slide. Na. So for our architectural our base section, so as much as possible, try to limit that much of a parang structural ano. So we would just have a simple concrete flooring. So for like that's for our ground floor, and then for the second floor we will have the steel beam concrete covered with concrete ceiling. So again, we show from our exterior wall the parang metal container skin that would be attached to in the near side of Aracero's part, and also the usage of smart glass windows to not just only to restaurants but also to the laboratory and basically the research side of the structure. So not only that they can control their temperature but also their lighting, just in case their research or their substance is what do you call this, sensitive to lighting. And yeah. So this is a picture or a render of a view for our restaurant food stalls near the maintenance area and the ferry. So it was located on the second floor, so at least it would give a view to the attractive city and also the riverside, and also at least it would give you a view on the people going on to the ferry trying to explore the whole river. So, and this is the waiting area and the pay where you pay for your ferry terminal. So this is also, it gives you a view as well. So not only that can attract you the view, but also it may encourage you to at least, you know, while waiting for your ticket, you have this view and comfortable waiting area big enough for space to not only enjoy the view and also relax. So for our a picture of our laboratory, so we've adjusted from base for last time our columns. So we made it 250 by 400. So at least it would at least hold on to more strength, and also added more columns inside, so not just only two 3 meters. So we made it like 4 meters wide in between each columns inside the laboratory. So at least there was more space used for not only rowing, for more tables as well and for offices. And also here's a glimpse of the hallway that connects through all of the commercial and nature reserve. It's like a bridge. So at least it also gives you a view of the atrium to not only not just be aware and engaged with surroundings, but also at least give you a view.
So
So
here's the
yeah.
front elevation and rear elevation of the commercial area. And here's just to show the relationship between its environmental settings. So as you can see on the front elevation, it's adjacent to the Arroceros Forest Park, whereas on the right, you can locate other commercial or institutional buildings. And then here's the left and right elevation to show its relationship to the Pasig River. Jamie, are you gonna add something?
I'll have anything to
Yeah. Okay, wait. I'll stop share and I'll share the special building. Okay. So for the Nazareno Chapel, which is our special building, we questioned how could we construct sacred spaces and the places where we worship, given that Manila, they're very well known for being a religious place, given their 400-year-long history with the Black Nazareno. So the Black Nazareno, that's like a very predominant feast in Manila, especially around the Quiapo area. So those who pass by the Quezon Bridge or the Ayala Bridge, they're most likely devotees of Manila. So here's the location of the chapel. So the site location, it's located along the Ayala Bridge and Hospicio de San Jose isolated island. And it has two components on the right elevation, which are the confession pods and the votive candle room. And then it's located on top of the single vehicle lane of the island. And then on the other side, it's the stair area. And then on top of the space is the chapel. So to be an island, it allows a state of being where one's mind can drift to a peaceful place of reflection. So the isolated island of Hospicio de San Jose Church, it's unique in location as its main function is actually to heal children, as it was donated by Dr. Gomez for the church friars. And what makes it even more holy is that it's attached to a bridge that helps transport the statue of the Black Nazarene. So the chapel, it's structured on this single vehicle lane located on the island. So this signifies like a symbol of blessing as cars pass underneath the structure. So here's the floor plan. So located on the sige, go lang.
Sorry. So for this our floor plan. So before our road was 3.6. So we had consideration on changing it to 4,000. To at least we could consider having sidewalks in there. So at least if people want to pass by inside or if it's raining, so at least they can take shelter there. And it is 13,000 or in total for our roads it's 104 included with the stairs and also the sides, the confession and the candle offering area, and also the another confession. So we took consideration everything. So we double checked before. I think it was also 1.5, so we also made it 2,000. So at least we added more, a little bit more space. So at least if ever it's crowded, it wouldn't be that, let's just say, parang narrow way na maraming tao during the time na parang a parade ulit Nazarene.
Yeah, we wanted the design to accommodate just a few devotees that pass by the area for like a few minutes to gather their blessings. So that's why the total floor area of the entire space, it's 104 square meters. And then here's the structural frame of the tensile fabric.
So for our structural frame, so going again for our beams, as much as possible, we at least try to make it 3.2 high, 3.2 meters high. And also for tensile fabric, in each end, there will be like parang siyang spider, I forgot what you call it, that would help gather it together in each corners of the columns. So if there are 8 columns in total, so in each side there will be a parang support that will be grabbing each wire and also the fabric that would at least help it go together. And also on the very top of the beam, the 2 ends, so four ends pala, in each corner of the rectangle. So there will be also support there that would help it not just holding it from underground, but also holding it from up top. So that's why we have this um, support and also this structural steel pipe that would at least help it hold on together.
Yeah, we wanted the columns to be like high enough for vehicles to pass by underneath.
Oh, sorry. Correction, I was 4.20 high, pala, not 3.6. And then for a second floor, we made it at least 3 meters tall, so at least it could fit a few people in there. Because most of the people would, sorry, because most of the people would usually go in first for candle and offer or confession do first before they go up top and pray for a little while. So we to consider and also the beams up top. So we made it 0.30, and for our second floor, so we made it 0.40 thick. So before it was 0.30. So we made some minor changes so at least it could hold more people if ever they would want more people to go second to pray.
Yeah, so since the spacing of the columns is around 3 and 4 meters, that wraps around the confession pods and votive candle rooms.
So this is just a plan of where we place the columns. So there's 8 in total, so 4 in each side.
So here's
So
the
this is
front and rear elevation of the building. The front elevation, since it's adjacent to the Ayala Bridge, it like serves as a landmark of blessings for the passerbyers. And then the water features are also an integral component of the design, as we wanted the design to provide vistas from within the structures as per Burnham's idea. That's why we included lots of windows sprawling around the space. And then you were saying something, Jim. Justin?
yes. You can next now.
You were saying.
No, it's okay.
Here's the right elevation and left elevation of the building. So as you can see, the entire right and left elevation, it's surrounded by a body of water. So that's why we included windows to not only be the structural foundation of the building, but to also provide vistas for the devotees and visitors. Oops. And then here's the section view of the chapel. So this one shows the relationship between the programs we designed. So the central program of this is, of course, the chapel, as it is located on the higher level of the structure. And then like here's a perspective of the interior shot. So this can accommodate around 3 rows of pews. So it can accommodate a few devotees, as it is located in the middle of an island in between a bridge. And then here's the perspective of the votive candle area to lay your prayers. And then here's the rear elevation perspective. So the rear elevation, it faces the east, so it captures the morning sun that leaves like a cross shadow in the interior chapel. And that's all we have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very happy with the presentation, the way you guys created it from the beginning. I can even see that you customized the presentation just for the final review, and that demonstrates a lot of dedication to the project. So when it comes to the design, I'm particularly interested in this chapel. If given more time, I think I want it to be more emotive and at the same time sensual in a way. Like when I saw that area with the black object where you put the candles, like how you can actually involve it in the structure. The other group already mentioned uh, like the stain coming from the recycled clothes, etc. You guys could have probably worked with the, I don't know what they call it, the the black, the smog, I don't know if you call it smog, coming from the candles. Diba? So if you can incorporate it in the design, if it's part of the aesthetic of the building, the stains that coming from the candle, etc. That would have been really, really nice. That way the building is also a living thing. So, but other than that, it's well made. The first project, I'm happy that there are some details already, but keep in mind that when you're making a base section, even if it's concrete, it has a certain symbol that you need to show. Although the moment you're practicing already, you can customize the symbols, but we have some standard unacceptable hatches for concrete symbols. No, so ano yun eh, but it's like freckles. You should have used freckles or probably grayed out, and then the steel should be double line, and then the profile of the hall. When I'm looking at the section, can you show it to me? Just to so that we are on the same page. It's okay if it's concrete, no? But no, the hall, the other building, the first building. The section, yeah, the renderings are okay. This is okay, but probably more detail on the steel framing. Can we go to the section? This is the base section. Yeah, this one, yeah, that one. That diagram or that architecture drawing, it reads as if it's concrete, because if it's going to be steel, there needs to be probably trusses, etc. That one, let me just annotate, huh? So this one will work if it's going to be buhos. This one. Ay, sorry. I cannot. Okay. But you know what I mean, right? This profile, if it's going to be all concrete, that will work, you know. But if it's going to be steel, what the question is, what will support this joint? Do you get it? This will cave in. You get it? So that is a question. So most likely there will be trusses here like that, which I don't think you like, but it is what it is. So but probably this can work with trusses, no? Like that, and then trusses like that, and then probably you can have a false ceiling instead if you really want to maintain a very clean ceiling soffit. Okay, so but other than that, congratulations, you completed the project, and I love the commitment. Okay, thank you guys. Do you have any questions?
None for me, sir.
Okay,
None,
also,
sir.
before I forget, section, this field, although I know this is thicker than a slab, no, 12, yung tayo sa 12.
12.
Yeah, this is thicker than a slab based on how I'm reading it. But normally you have beams, no? You have beams like that, and then you have false
Yes, sir.
ceiling to make it clean. Okay, so try to peg the beams into 500 to 600, 700 if you want a false ceiling, so that you can hide all the ducting. Okay, sige. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Noted,
sir.
sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
so I guess that's it. Okay na ba tayo, guys?
Sir, so bukas na kami?
Wala na, tapos na. 10 eh.
Oh, bye, Kier. Bye,
Org na
Jack.
lang.
Sige, game.
Okay.
Sir, question.
Justin.
Sir, kailan due yung video?
Let's talk about it afterwards, okay? But for now, let's focus on this first. But ideally, hopefully before your Christmas break, so that you don't have to think about it.
Okay, sir.
Right. Sige, bye. Sige, go ahead, guys.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Here, do I share na lang?
Yes, you can share. Ready.
I think here's lagging. I'll share na lang.
Oh, there.
Okay, so we'll be presenting the culmination of our two projects for this term. So just to preface, we'll be looking back on the master plan we had last term, which focused on creating a symbiotic city, which essentially means that we want people to turn towards nature in a sense that despite being in an urban community, there are opportunities to integrate with nature, especially and for our two projects, we'll be focusing on nature in a sense that will be allowing people to live with the culture of agriculture and water. So this is our vision master plan from last term, and sorry, based on this, can you see my cursor? But based on the plan, we'll be focusing on the mosque and the surrounding typologies that will be located in the agricultural area, which compromises of shop houses. So before we start, we wanted to highlight the main precedents that we stuck with for this term and how we continued on with this concept from last term. So if you remember, last term we introduced the idea of step wells and terraces in the overall master plan. So what we decided to do this term was to make it small scale in the sense that how could we make the entire city cohesive and essentially act in the same system. So once again, the step wells are mainly subterranean surfaces which are mostly for water storage, and it's mostly used for irrigation, bathing, washing, drinking, and as a cooling sanctuary, while terraces, which are um, the same level but upwards in a sense. It's more done for agricultural productivity. So we see that in one great example being the Banawa rice terraces in the Philippines. So another precedent that we introduced this term was the aqueduct, in a sense that we will be looking at the system and how we could iterate different ways to mimic the way it channels water from one distinct area to another, just based on the form itself. So we'll be starting with our fabric building. So I just wanted to pose a question that when you wander around the symbiotic city, what would you notice in particular? So this is just a hint at what we're going to be presenting later on. So yeah, before I move on to let Kier speak, the Vision Master Plan just wanted to show how again the general area where it is located. So we placed our previous render of what this space would look like and how we potentially want to accumulate the space with the fabric building, since it's near the mosque and by the Pasig River in the agricultural area. Okay.
Okay, so our general focus for the fabric building was to utilize the process of active water flowing throughout the entire structure. So that includes a water collection system that we created that serves as a food service system, which also allows for the hanging of laundry, and the hydroponic system for the planting and as well as the plumbing. So the general flow of the water will be from the top of the structure all the way going down. Next slide. So since one of our main focuses was agriculture, we wanted to include different plants that different plants that we focused on specifically for this sample of the fabric building, since the typology that we focused on was a shop house. So we wanted to the product that we wanted to highlight in this shop house was the lumpiang sariwa, which has cabbage, green beans, carrots, coriander, onion, and garlic as the various plants present. So in this sheet, you'll notice the different planting requirements for each of the plants, so that these requirements can be taken note of for the maximum yield of the plants. Next slide. So one of the main ideas that we wanted to put into the fabric building was the rooftop plant cultivation areas. So we thought of this so that the residents would have a sense of self-sufficiency and cultivate a healthier lifestyle on their own by integrating water and nature into their everyday environment. So each of the shop houses will contain its own rooftop garden for growing various crops depending either on the product that they will be selling in the shop house or based on their own preferences. So the precedence for this idea was the traditional roof shingles. So normally those roof shingles were curved and what we did curved downwards. And what we did was we changed the orientation of this curve to allow for the cultivation of crops on the roof.
As well as for more efficient water flow, since if you notice we have an air well in the center, so the way we designed the roofing system is that it would essentially lead the water from irrigation to the air well, which then travels throughout the structure. But then other than that, I think I wanted to add also that the reason why we chose lumpiang sariwa is because we wanted the fabric building to instill a sense of Filipino culture, and that meant looking into sari-sari stores and street food culture, and then from that, how could we turn those cultures into more sustainable ones or more self-sufficient ones. We looked at street food ingredients and the famous street food that's being sold on the street today. Other than providing a space for them to, through this shop house, to create their own restaurant and popularize more Filipino food, we realized that these foods that we found are mainly processed. And today, like nowadays, it's very the likelihood of turning something into like healthier is very viable. So what we did was take a good example of famous Filipino food that could be a staple because it is healthy and not because it's processed. Or so that's why we chose lumpiang cereal as like our sample for like future shop house iterations.
To add on to what Janelle said, okay. So another reason was that, like she said, we noticed yun nga, na street food is very unhealthy. So we really wanted to stay constant with the healthy city aspect by really emphasizing the possibility of having easily accessible crops to the people within the city. Yeah.
Okay, so another idea we had for the shop house is water, as we said, like being a transport system. Also mentioning the algae tiles. But in a sense, this system is sort of stays true to the idea that we wanted to use water as the main essence of the city, and that meant if it circulated throughout streets and rivers, it could also circulate in your own home and even be a mechanism for certain things. So we took that chance, and if you see in the illustrations below, we were inspired by the way street food is handled traditionally, which is essentially you have a bunch of different ingredients that are either um, sauces or just ready-made, and you kind of craft your own meal. So what we did was create a dining setup wherein water ideally acts as a mechanism for the transportation of food, just similar to how conveyor belts nowadays work, but more passive. And this system starts with the traveling of water from um, the tiling systems that we also integrated as a design language in the structure. And of course, it also leads towards other necessities, such as after this, it will go to like plumbing, etc. Here.
Okay. So another idea that we sort of designed for this project was the terraced roofing system. So tried to combine the concept of aqueducts and the traditional roof shingles and terracing to create a design feature for the fabric building. So the way it works is it functions as a rainwater catchment and strategically directs them towards various areas. So one of which is the tiling system that connects to the algae wall in the back, which ends at a pond. And this was done strategically in a way where the sloping of the roof was necessarily designed to catch a larger amount of water, so that it would sort of encapsulate the idea of water as part of the community. Next.
Okay, so this is just a section of the airwell or like central courtyard of the shop house, wherein water from the roof would travel towards the center and contribute to the system of like the dining setup, if you could see in the render. Yeah, so this is just the explanation of how we looked also, if you remember, if we once we looked at precedents such as Chinese and Singaporean shop houses that use air wells in their shop houses, because these moderate the thermal environments of structures such as these. So yeah. Another idea we had for the fabric was to introduce the sort of like a laundry pipeline in the in an escanita that we created, more as like a private escanita where the community gathers through the balconies or through the streets to experience to share the food that they create. And in a sense, how we saw this escanita was that one shop house would be linked to another through like this clothing pipeline, where looking back at how we normally see laundry being hung in Filipino household balconies, it's such a normal thing to witness in the Philippines. So what we did was, what if we just celebrated that and um, used it in a functional way, wherein it makes um, it could be used as a water channel as well that circulates throughout the community more, and even create an intimate space for the community while being festive, since we uh, imagined this sort of small narrow street as like very vibrant and colorful and full of culture.
To add to what Janelle said, since the main focus of our city was water, we felt that it was we wanted to possibly highlight every or all aspects wherein water could be integrated into the structure, which is part of the reason why we decided to include the system, um, even though it doesn't necessarily even though um, it's not necessarily functioning at the whole time. So we wanted to highlight how the aspect of flowing water in general was very evident within the community.
So this is just a sample um, view of the escanita that we were referring to. So these are just our floor plans for the base iteration, the foundational iteration that we had. So this is the ground floor plan, which integrates the actual restaurant for the street food, an open courtyard that connects to the airwell, and behind that is private, like access to the private dining and kitchen area of the actual owners or residents of the place. And then once you reach the back, there's a patio and a fish pond that connects to the shop houses adjacent to it. So you could also immerse in the community activities. And then the second floor plan has the bedrooms and a circulating hallway that allows the users to interact via the balcony and also sort of circulate their laundry towards one end to the other. And this is our roof deck plan, where we have terraced hallways and the mentioned planting systems, and of course the airwell at the bottom. So these are just our elevations. Sections. Okay, so based for our permutations naman, we mostly the way we looked at the permutations was, well, we looked again at how like the predominance of mixed-use commercial residential structures in the Philippines, and they're very recognizable no matter where you are in the Philippines. So as I mentioned, the balconies, the arcaded sari stores, the laundry and everything. So that in a sense opens up the flexibility and versatility of using the shop house for different typologies, for different services and goods rendered. Since it's such a I think such a nostalgic, or it's very recognizable in a way that it can be applied in multiple aspects. So some of the iterations that we were able to to come up with was having an extended arcaded roof to accommodate alfresco seating. Another one would be to fully arcade it, and one would even be to cover up the frontage in case users wanted more privacy. And another one would be to integrate laundry systems even in the front, just so and inside, just to, in case they wanted more privacy with their laundry and home activities. So yeah. Also, we changed the heights based on how we see the roof configurations to be. So roof configurations could alter, as well as if there are plants that are taller than others, and also if there are vertical farming requirements that would require an increase or decrease in height of the structure. So for fabric building, we ask ourselves what brings a community together. And by community, we're referring to the Muslim community that we are focusing on for our master plan. Okay, so the vision master plan is just to show the location of the mosque and the atmosphere that surrounds it. If you see our render last term, there's an evident strip of water and greenery that leads your eye towards the mosque, and we moved from that and continued on how this structure should then be an emblem in a sense, because of how it's situated. Okay, you wanna...
So for the mosque, we focused more on a specific type of plant, specifically the rice plant. This was because we wanted to focus on the connection the connection of the community, of the Muslim community in the area, since they're recognized not necessarily only as Muslim but also as Filipinos, and how the Filipinos in general have a strong have a preference for rice. So we wanted to the reason for the rice plant was also since rice being one of the most common foods that Filipino people eat, it would also allow for it would be greatly utilized in the meals that would be prepared in the food bank that we included in the mosque. So this sheet shows the planting requirements to maximize the growth of rice and the maximum to increase the maximum yield. Slide. So the general steps for rice processing first starts from harvesting and then drying and then milling, which results in the milled rice, which could be then processed into various Filipino rice products or kakanin. So examples of these are suman, pichi-pichi, bibingka, palitaw, puto, and biko. While the byproducts of the rice would be the husk, the straw, and the bran.
Other than that, the reason why we placed this is because, for one, we are planning to, for program purposes, we're planning to use these rice products as like sample products that would be provided in the food bank, and that if that entails additional or supplementary plants such as kamote or pandan, that would also be incorporated in the plantation throughout the structure. Other than that, byproducts are also very viable and useful for other products. For example, straw and husk is regularly used for weaving more products. So it wasn't really our focus, but we also tapped into that in a sense that if the users of the structure to be more family friendly and not and integrate them into the rice production process, they could create their own products as well. And then this is just an explanation of the aquaponic system in small scale, but we will be incorporating this in a larger scale throughout the entire structure. But in a basic explanation, the rice plant will be planted via water, and this water circulates to fishes, and these fishes, for example, we thought about tilapia, which was a very compatible fish to be added in this system, and the entire circulation sort of filters the water. So we will be implementing these three components: the rice, plant, water lilies, and tilapia throughout the structure. And so the another thing is the general water flow within the mosque is to have water collection and then have it irrigate the rice plant or other plants, and then the filtered water would be sent to the ablution area, which is for washing and will lead to the fish pond and back. So so this is just the synthesis of the structure, just to get all ideas compiled together before we move on to the ideas themselves. But we have the rice production process in the horizontal layout. So that's from the rice paddy to the rice drying, rice milling, cooking, and eating. But then for each rice process, we integrated a different activity or a different system that would associate itself with a different activity that's mosque related, or just another activity that would associate itself with the structure. So not to go any further, we'll just be explaining each one of them later on. So here.
Yeah. So this idea was based of the rice terraces or pond field terrace irrigation. So since we decided to grow the rice using aquaponics, we decided to lay out the rice similar to that of a traditional rice paddy system. So to allow the general flow of the water to sort of stay passive within the system, we decided to create a sort of sloping structure to help along the irrigation throughout the entire structure and for the rice. So the array of rice sort of paves a way for visitors to immerse themselves into the cultivation of the rice crops, as well as serve as pathways for the different destinations in the structure, similar to wandering through a wheat field.
Another idea we had was to incorporate it into a minaret, which is a very essential aspect to a mosque, wherein it is utilized uh, as an emblem for call to prayer, except nowadays, as compared to before, where there used to be balconies um, for actual call to prayer, modern mosques nowadays just um, they maintain the minaret, but call to prayer is usually held somewhere else, such as the prayer hall. But usually they integrate like speaker systems to the minaret. So we thought, what else could we do with this minaret that would enhance our structure and enhance the circulation of water in a structure? And what we thought of was to integrate a wind tunnel and an airwell system. So uh, our precedent for this was the airwell, which is technically a structure that collects water by condensation of humid air. And when we looked into the possibility of applying this in the Philippines, we noticed that it was very viable to apply this because of the tropical climate of the Philippines, and because um, also because this tower we situated um, uh, high up compared to the actual structure, and that it is we designed it 45 degrees just so that it would accommodate more air to travel within it. So the water essentially it condenses and enters the structure towards a filtration and water storage.
To add to Janelle lang, I think in general, these systems that we're adding, we decided to add them as passive systems, not necessarily to replace um, plumbing, but more to serve as an additional source um, of water and to sort of integrate the appreciation of water towards the community more. Since these features sort of highlight various ways that water is present in the environment.
Another one is like the algae tiles that we mentioned before that we also applied to the shop house, but it is more prominent here, I think, because the idea started from the structure wherein we were looking at Islamic culture and how in their architecture they integrate plant motifs or vegetal patterns, which we looked into it and it doesn't have any religious uh, or symbolic meaning behind it, except for the fact that it symbolizes um, flowers and plants. So what if we use that as a design language in the structure and integrated it um, to serve not only as aesthetic but also functional. And that's where we added the algae tiles, wherein it serves as an added filtration, passive filtration system for the water that circulates the structure. So if you see in the diagram, we created like a unit, one unit, and then we sort of rotated it in different ways to form these like patterns. But then also we could extrude them to serve as sort of like a waterfall for like the ablution area and such. So it's very versatile in terms of like its functionality. And then our other idea regarding the rice drying process is the since we notice that especially like when along streets or um, side of roads, you usually see people drying rice on the floor or like just exposed to the sun here in the Philippines. And when we were looking into that, we saw that rice grain sun drying it's actually a very a tedious process in a sense that it needs to be raked multiple times as to like um have the grains roll over and like have equal sunlight exposure. So yeah, so the act of raking ensures that the rice grains dry equally. So in a sense, we also associated it with um being looking at the Japanese Zen garden and how they're raking of they have a landscaping technique of raking gravel and sand to exude that sense of Zen, or in general terms, just a peaceful state of mind. And we were thinking about how we could turn this into an activity, not uh, not anything religious integrated, but just since we're seeing that this structure will be um, prone to a lot of teenagers and kids who are willing to learn how to um, cook and learn about um, uh, halal practices, that there will be a lot of like family friendly activities that must be applied throughout the structure. And so we were thinking of how this rice drying could even become an activity that the children could participate in before it goes into the rice milling process. And it's also sorry.
Go finish.
It's also a juxtaposition between the tedious process of rice milling. It's sort of like we're making the rice process less tedious by making it fun in the mosque setting because it's very peaceful and very quiet, supposedly.
To add to what Janelle says, we feel that it also adds a sense of appreciation towards the process of like the amount of work it actually takes to get the final product that you eat. So by including this activity, I think the general community will sort of be able to experience and sort of understand the general and have a sense of appreciation towards the food that they're about to eat and do eat every day.
Okay, and then wait. Okay, so this water feature is another idea which is also sort of integrated to the rice production area in the center of our structure. So traditional mosques have courtyards in the center, and with that comes a water feature most often than not. So we wanted to incorporate the same traditional idea, but enhance it in a way that it serves an additional purpose, because rice production is usually very noisy. So some very long explanation of how sound masking using ambient noise such as water can be incorporated through this system. So if you notice, it's not as detailed, but the idea is that the we're sort of planning to have a water feature that exudes a sense of like more peaceful sounds in order to mask the work that is being done by the machine on the floor above. So yes, also the rice drop station that you see in the illustration is an added activity that is family friendly. So if you see the picture to the left, it is already a traditional practice in rice production that um, dropping rice into the machine is usually done from a level above the actual machine or the gathering of the rice, the milled rice. So we sort of just elevated that concept by adding more levels to our structure just so that children or like families could um, gather rice and like drop them into the rice mill to make the experience more immersive. Here.
So this is a base section of our ablution area. So as you can see in the base section, the water will flow from the various surfaces towards the algae wall tile, where then it will be used for the cleansing of the feet and the hands and the face of, which is part of the Islamic culture before they do their daily prayers.
Yeah, so this just also shows like the versatility of the tiles we were talking about in serving as like for the ablution and also for the filtering. So yeah. And these are just our floor plans. Maybe we can quickly explain how we planned it based on like circulating the structure. Basically, when once you enter the structure, you'll be led towards the ablution area where you have to cleanse first before you enter the prayer room, which is here. And we have two of them because in Islamic culture, it is traditionally there is a traditional like separation between men and women in prayer activities. So yeah, and then we also have halal education lecture rooms and a food bank, of course, and a community kitchen where since one of our main ideal users would be children and teenagers to learn more about sustainable sustainable health priorities and just like halal principles to create their own food. And that's why these halal lecture rooms are connected to the kitchens. And so they can interact with the community and even make something for themselves based on what they immerse themselves in the rice production. And then here in the second floor, after getting your food from the food bank, you could go to the terrace like steps and then interact with the community in these like alfresco dining areas, which also integrate different supplementary plants such as the kamote and the pandan we were mentioning earlier. And then there are also steps from the ablution area towards the rice paddy here on the left. And the rice milling area is situated in the center, so it's easily accessible. And then this is our roof deck plan where the actual rice paddies are located. So if you notice, like when you circulate through this roof deck, it's sort of a sequence of the actual rice process where it's from the rice paddies to the rice drying, and then you could enter the structure to drop the dried rice into the milling station and sort of descent from there back to the ground floor. That's just our site development plan. There are elevations, elevations, section, and
So
then our rendering.
just to add, so the general process really of the design of the structure was to sort of have the rice be processed from top to bottom of the entire structure. That's all.
That's all.
Sir.
Where's the walkthrough?
Sir, nag-give up yung file namin.
Okay.
Na-corrupt yung 3 GB na file.
Is it really orange?
Yeah.
Okay. So magsama-sama kayo ni Idrius.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when it comes to deliverables, I think you have one of the most refined and confident presentation. Almost a level of sila Kevin and Tracy, almost same level as Kevin and Tracy, and especially with the floor plan, with the ideas. Sometimes it makes me curious. Although I don't want to ask because it's really up to you. But what we're doing here is to teach you the sensibilities of a designer. So whether you want to go more than what you're doing now or probably way less, at least you are aware already. It's really more of the awareness, and the aesthetic later on you can find yourself already. And I'm happy that at this level you guys have the consciousness already, and you have that maturity already and advanced skills to show those ideas. I think in a way I'm confident that you guys, at least this particular project demonstrates what the creative typology is supposed to be like. Of course, I have other ideas in mind, but this one is probably the pinnacle of what I'm expecting for a creative typology, at least for my studio. What I've been trying to achieve all these years. So because the others are sort of 80%, like 70%, this is 100%, but another kind of creative typology. I don't know if I'm making sense, but somehow you provided me that satisfaction already that this is, when I say creative typology, I can easily mention and provide this as an example. Maybe I should also mention Janil's project last term. Tama ba?
Two terms ago, Arctus 4.
Yeah, the Habil something, the
Hibla.
Hibla. So so yeah, and then and now that you guys are working on the master plan, and then with the Kier on board, and then now you're working on these typologies, we were really able to see the potential of the creative typology, and if for instance I'm in your position and I know that this is not the aesthetic that I like, but somehow you are immersing in the process, I would have probably done the same thing, because there's a reason why I play The Sims, because I can explore the maximalist side of me. Do you know what I mean? But which I cannot do in practice because it just doesn't feel right for me. Do you know what I mean? So, but at least somehow in our studio, the reason why I'm pushing you guys to try it first, because it teaches you something that conventional design won't teach you. Like if it's going to be, for example, I think there were students who enroll in my class because they want to design like me, like minimals, etc. But it has limits. That kind of aesthetic has limits. This one, we're not talking about the aesthetic, we're talking about the process, we're talking about the ideas that you can produce to generate the architecture. It has no limits. In fact, I'm just talking about my expectation, like 100%, it met the expectations of what the creative typology could be like, but I know that there are other ways to do it as well. So, yeah, I think maybe my negative comment probably is walkthrough. Yun lang. Okay?
Once Pierce
Okay, I'm
Sir,
gonna...
I'll fix it.
PC starts working.
Oh,
I'll
sige.
fix it.
Yeah, but for it's already late, so I'm going to ask everyone to upload the materials in our G drive, and we can talk about in the walkthrough in the GC later on. But for now, I'm going to grade what I saw, and hopefully, if you can upload everything by tomorrow, all the drawings, and probably I can base my grade on those drawings. All right, and the presentation today as well will be considered. So okay, so thank you guys for the term. I'll try to see you for a grade consultation. If not, I'm just gonna chat you privately, individually. But thank you for being obedient students and being patient students. And I hope to see you around. Okay, and stay safe. Thank you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All
Thank you,
right.
sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye, sir.
Okay.
Sir, thank you.
All right.
Bye, sir. Sir, ano section nyo next term? Ano class nyo?
Ano nga ba, Bea? Do you remember? Wala na si Bea. I don't remember eh. Wait ah.
Oh, there are 5?
Tanong niyo si Bea, nasabi ko kay Bea kasi she asked.
Oh.
Okay. Sige, bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Okay.